Our premiums have gone up, and they're going to be angry about that. There is going to be an all-out revolt in this country over that.
Back in 2004, you were talking about raising the debt limit, and at that point, you were not in favor of it. But you're all for raising the debt ceiling when the debt is now $17 trillion. What changed?
That's a very, very good question.
Freedom prospers when religion is vibrant and the rule of law under God is acknowledged.
An informed patriot is what we want.
Welcome to Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio. Muscular Christianity, where we relentlessly explore the intersection of truth and politics.
The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so.
Now, here's your host, Brian Fisher.
Hi, and welcome to the second hour of this free-for-all Friday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. President Obama does not want you to listen to Focal Point. President Obama does not want you to listen to AFR Talk. President Obama does not want you to read the columns that we post at One News Now. He said it himself. He told people, look, Americans are getting their ideas from their favorite internet blogs and their radio broadcasters. And he said, this has got to stop. You've got to stop listening to those voices. You've got to stop reading those columns. They are polluting your mind with the truth. So, ladies and gentlemen, the point I want to make is this indicates very clearly the power of alternative media, because President Obama himself represents the threat that conservative voices and alternative media represent to his agenda. It worries him. It troubles him. It disturbs him. It's keeping him from the complete destruction of the American Republic. And so he doesn't like it. So he's out there trying to tell people, please, whatever you do, don't listen to conservative talk radio. And of course, that would include, he didn't single us out, I'm not saying that, but that clearly would include voices like Focal Point and the American Family Radio Talk Network. Now, one quick soundbite before we go back to the phones, 888-589-8840. I'm a 49er fan, and our chief rival right now, the Seattle Seahawks, and they are headed, their quarterback is a bright young quarterback by the name of Russell Wilson. He's in his second year. He's very gifted, very mobile, got a powerful arm, got a very cool head. He's obviously a great leader on the field. And so as long as the Seahawks have him at quarterback, they are going to be a threat in the NFL. What a lot of people don't know about Russell Wilson is that he's a very strong believer in Jesus Christ. Now, a 15-minute video has been produced of a number of the Seattle Seahawks describing their faith in Jesus Christ. I just grabbed the soundbite of Russell Wilson talking about how he came to faith in Christ. Let's listen.
When I was a young kid, I used to always go to church. My parents used to always take me, and I knew about God and stuff like that, but I was always playing sports, and I was so preoccupied with that, part of my life, and I was kind of a bad kid. I was kind of a bad kid growing up. I had a dream one night. I was at UVA football camp. It was Saturday night, and my parents were supposed to pick me up on Sunday to go to church. I had a dream that my dad passed away, and that Jesus came into the room, and he was just, basically knocking on my door saying, hey, you need to find out more about me. So that Sunday morning, I ended up going to church, and that's when I got saved. It was either June or July when I was 14 years old, and I think that just that moment of when I realized that there's dreams are really real, because my dad ended up passing away 6 years later. So I think that kind of got me through a lot of adversity. Like I said, I was kind of a bad kid. I used to beat up kids and bite kids and do stuff all the time, but I realized that God had given me so many talents, and I wanted to give him all the glory.
So Russell Wilson, quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, not the first nor will he be the last individual through whom God has spoken in a dream. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Melissa in Ponca City, Oklahoma. Melissa, thanks for calling and thanks for waiting. What's on your mind?
We were talking at the dinner table the other night, and my dad just mentioned something, and I thought, why are we not doing this? And we don't have to wait till elections. states that do not approve of the way their senators voted or the fact that they didn't vote correctly and were chickens can recall their senators, re-elect new ones, and have them in place by the time this comes up again in January. And just
well, you got me a little bit out of my depth. I don't know the actual procedures for recalling senators. It may vary from one state to another. So you know that in Oklahoma, for instance, you got Jim Inhofe, Tom Corbett, you could recall those senators and replace them.
Exactly. And when you recall them, it develops where you have to have it's not the right term, but a special election.
Yeah, to replace them.
Who you want to do, and you're set to go. And I think there's even people in Democratic states that probably call their senators and they just refuse to vote the right way. Well, you start recalling 2 or 3 of those, they're going to get the message, and the people's voice is going to become louder than it has been.
Mm-hmm.
That we sent you there to do the job. You're supposed to do the job we told you to do. You are our voice.
Yeah.
And you do it the way we said, or your job's no longer there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they'll start to get the picture that they do work for the people. It's not the other way around, and the people have a threshold. They will continue to return incumbents to office up to a point, but then you push them across their threshold. And 2010 was a huge watershed election. I think 2014 could be the same thing. 2016 could be the same thing, where just grassroots people like you and I, Melissa, we just say, look, we've had enough. We got to get some different leadership back there in Washington, D.C. It's interesting to me, and thank you for the call, Melissa. I appreciate that. I'm looking at a story here from peoplepress.org about a survey, trying to see who did this survey, the Pew Research Center. And it was talking about the unfavorable views of the Tea Party have doubled since 2010. Now, the interesting thing to me is that the Tea Party unfavorables spiked at 43% in 2011 after Republicans won a House majority and Tea Party members played a leading role in that summer's debt ceiling debate. In other words, that shows you that this is absolutely perfectly worthless to talk about the unfavorability of the Tea Party, because the more successful they were, the more unpopular they became, which is just bizarre to think about. I mean, obviously they're successful because they represent the will of the people. So the more successful they are in any kind of a honest world, the more popular they would be, the more their favorables would grow. Instead, it's the other way around, according to the Pew. So that just makes no sense to me, that the more successful you are, the more effective you are, the more faithfully you represent the will of your constituents, the less favorables your rating would be. But that's what Pew Research says. Let's grab another phone call. Let's go to Larry, Camden, Arkansas. Larry, welcome. What's on your mind?
Yes, Glenn?
Yes, Larry, go right ahead. You're on with Brian Fisher.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Listen, first of all, let me say that I really appreciate your show and what you do and how you really just voicing truths that need to be heard. But I have a couple of questions and a couple of things that I want to bring up now. First of all, I am classified as an African-American conservative Christian. And already I'm on the backside because I voted Republican and I favor that. And so in my generation of people, they just think that it's totally bad because you voted against.
Mm-hmm. They just kind of make assumptions about where your political leanings are going to be. Let me ask this question, Larry. Can you hold on? I know you've been holding for a while. Can you hold on for 2 more minutes?
Yes, sir.
Because I've got another break coming up, and I want to be sure I get all of your thoughts. So we're coming up on a hard break here. So, Larry, I want you to pick up, remember where you were, pick up right where you left off, and I want to have you give you an opportunity to complete your thought on the other side of the break. You're listening to Focal Point on AFR Talk. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Here's Twyla Brace, president of CCHF, with today's Health Freedom Minute.
Are you a number or a patient? One doctor writes the following: individuals and illnesses are reduced to numbers and statistics by the manipulators. This is another way industry warps the caring, intensely human art of medicine into a purely analytical, faceless factory. When each person is reduced to a series of procedural and diagnostic codes, there is no patient, no human being, and no suffering. And caring is not part of the equation. When human beings are reduced to numbers, it does not end well for the numbered." End quote. A new federal system of 140,000 codes will record a shocking level of private details. Find a cash doctor and avoid the intrusion.
Learn more about protecting your healthcare choices. Sign up for the CCHF Weekly E-News Update at cchfreedom.org. That's cchfreedom.org.
AFR Talk, life-changing radio.
AFR has changed my life. I'm a 22-year-old stay-at-home mom with a 6-month-old baby boy, and I used to be addicted to television. But I was totally convicted while listening to one of your shows, and the speaker said, if you laugh at it, you're accepting it. Now I'm addicted to AFR. The television hardly ever comes on, and whenever my family or friends see me coming, they know that I will be talking about AFR news or issues that I've heard on your station. I thank God for AFR, and I pray for you daily.
I stumbled upon AFR a few months ago. AFR has truly enlightened me. I feel inspired to vote and inspired to have my voice and my values represented in Washington and not to just ignore what's going on in politics.
Let's make a difference in even more lives. Join